Good morning, radio listeners. Those of you on the www of the World Wide Web, welcome to another program, your program, FYI, brought to you again by the Synesthesia Tourism Development Foundation. I'm your host this morning, Charles Lindo. I'm sitting in for your regular host, Ms. Tina Lopes, and hopefully she'll be back with us within short. Okay, again, thank you so much for sitting in. Thank you so much for tuning in. We have a wonderful program for you today. And again, as you know, FYI for your information, and that's what we do. We bring things to you for your information. And it's about tourism and around tourism, of course, and anything that has to do with tourism development on the island, whether directly or indirectly. So, again, welcome, and stay tuned in because we're going to have a wonderful program for you. But before we do that, I want to do a little housekeeping. And the little housekeeping that I have, don't forget that your event, which is have become greatly visited over the past 2 years, because of you, the people of Statia, of course, is the Taste of the Culture. And again, this month, it's going to take place on the 31st, which is the last Thursday of this month, right there at the Mike Van Putten Youth Center, as we all know, the Lions Den. So we're looking forward to you to come out and keep supporting the booth holders. And again, you know, without you, this wouldn't have been possible, and it's taken off, and people are out there revving about it, talking about it, and it's good to see that actually when people return to the island, when people want to come to the island, they're asking, when is the Taste of the Culture, because they have heard so much good things about it and seen so much great things about it. So again, don't forget, Thursday, the 31st, is Taste of the Culture right there at the Lions Den, and of course, the regular time is from 6 to 9, so we expect you there and hope to see you. But the hot potato on the table also is the Statia Week of Activities, and I think this is a time for me to address that real quickly. And for those of you who have been excited about it and anxiously waiting, your program should be out anytime between today or at least first thing tomorrow morning, but we are going to definitely try and get the program lineup out to you by today. So that's complete, it's done, it's ready to go, and we will get that out to you. I can give you a quick rundown of what the program would look like for the coming days. Of course, it would be the general program, and then of course, as time go by, you will see the blanks being filled in. For example, from the 9th to the 11th, so the whole event starts on the 9th, and it's 9, 10, 11. Those are booth holders night. That's what we call them, booth holders night. And in those nights, there will be a DJ playing music on stage, and the booth holders have the chance to, you know, people have the chance to mix and mingle and of course, acquaint themselves with the different booths and those kind of things. So from 9th to the 11th is booth holders night. On the 12th is the official opening of the week, and that's the gospel night as well. That will be the night of the 12th, so that's the official opening and gospel night. On the 13th is the youth night. Again, as I said, you'll see these, there'll be flyers coming out accordingly, and you will see the nights being filled where you will know what's taking place, who's performing, what's happening, etc., etc. Those are going to come up as the time go by. Also on the 14th is the Night of Culture, so Culture Night. Again, though that you will see flyers coming out on that shortly. On the 15th, we have the International Night. And again, those are you will see something coming out from that, the International Night. And on the 16th, we have the Panorama with a feature. A feature simply means that there'll be someone from international status that has ties to Statia. Again, that's something that we really want to capitalize on as time go by, as the years go by. So we hope that this event this time would be a great one. This is a test run for us, of course, and you know the team has been really putting their best out there to make it a fun time. But we definitely believe that as time go by, it will become more grand as we speak. Of course, during the day of the 16th, you have the regular morning program where the groups are going to be parading through the street, and you have the morning salute and those kind of things with the flags and all these things. So definitely that is on the program, so don't miss out on that one. But there is also some activities that's going to take place during the course of the day. For 4 o'clock, for example, you have Miss Makiba, where she's going to have her show or the show taking place with running in heels, or what, not running, walking with heels. And mind you, make sure you have on your heel, because it's not just for the female, but for the male as well. I remember when she worked at the tourist office and she organized this thing, I almost died. I mean, you will see my good friend Charlie and Clark. I remember Clark was also part of it, and these guys had on heels at least 6 inches high. and these guys were walking as if they were accustomed to these things. So, it's a fun thing. It's a fun time, and it starts at 4. Of course, there's also some prizes that you can win. I remember last time we did it, there was a trip to St. Martin. That was actually the grand prize. And so, these things are there. And then at 6, we have the tossing of the ring for the senior citizens, which will take place right there by the museum. You can always come out and support them as well. But these are things that would happen during the course of the day of the 16th. So it's not like the day is going to go on scale or unattended. And of course, if there's anyone else out there that has anything that is happening, we look at the sports federations. I believe you guys could have some stuff taking place. You look at the softball team, like the winning softball team, you can have a little scrimmage match, the number 1 and number 2. Have a little match, a little thing on the field where people can still come out and enjoy a match among number 1 and number 2. I think the Lions are the guys that won this year. Who won this year? DJP, you know who won? No? Okay, well, I think it's Merkman team that won the championship this year. But whoever won, I think 1 and 2 come out and have a nice scrimmage match this on the 16th. I think that would be a wonderful thing. People will be glad to see that, and you get the people out and about. So if you wish to do that, please contact us. Contact myself. You can contact Nadasha Rajuki. You can contact myself. Anyone that is on the committee, you can contact us here at the tourist office or again at the culture department, and we will be more than happy to pen you in on the roster. Again, I think it will be a fun day, a fun time, and this could happen anywhere between 12 to 1, 12 to 2, something like that. That would be a great time for persons to come out. So again, don't forget, station the schedule is on its way out. We should have that by midday today, if not first thing in the morning. But I want to get into the program now, and in the studio with us today we have none other than my good buddy, Mr. Malvin Timber. Please introduce yourself to the people, sir.
Well, good morning to you, my good buddy. And good morning to everyone out there who's listening. As he's called my name already, my name is Malvin Timber. I think I'm known in the community and to the general public so far. I'm Malvin Timber. I'm working for the island government at the Department of Economy, Nature and Infrastructure. My title, my official position there is Senior Policy Advisor and Project Manager. That's me.
All right, great. Again, we are going to talk about some wonderful projects that taking place right here on the island of Statia, and that comes out from the department. Mr. Timber, what department do you work with? Let's start with that. And what is your position there?
Well, I work with the Department of Economy, Nature and Infrastructure. As we call it, the abbreviations is E&I. My position there, as I said just now, I'm officially the Senior Policy Advisor, and I'm also Project Manager for most of government projects.
Project Manager.
Yeah.
I'm glad that's the part that I'm glad you hit on. A few days ago, I was invited to a groundbreaking ceremony. To be exact, it was on the get my date wrong.
15th.
Tuesday the 15th at 4:30 at the FDR airport.
Correct.
Give us something about that. What was that about? And I don't want you to go too much details because I have a few questions about it. But that invitation, I got there, and there was some speech given, and you was one of the individuals actually with the toast.
Yeah.
And I heard you mention that you are happy to see this particular project taking place because of the amount of years that you as a person a citizen of Statia, station, let's call it that, have been introduced to these projects without any flotation, or
Yeah.
Okay. Can you tell us? Give me a little piece of that speech that you gave.
Wow. I call it a speech. Well, it's like I call it just a little introduction to the toast that I was asked to give. I will start first of all by saying yes, it has been some years since talks has been there about a new airport. I started working for the government here in St. Eustatius, if I'm not mistaken. I think it was in 1991, and I was privileged enough to be in a department that oversee. Then I was part of basically construction and projects and so on the island. And in 1992 was basically the first major renovation, if you want to call that, but also expansion of the airport that we have now. So the building that we see today, that was made, expanded, renovated in 1992. Since then, of course, there has been some renovations and there were some major problems, and they tried to address them throughout the years. And at a certain moment, and so it was said by the governments that were there, they said, listen, it's about time we go over to getting a new airport for several reasons, because of the age of this one that is there. And then when you compare the amount of renovations and repairs that needed to be done, when you compare the cost to those, we say, listen, at a certain moment you cannot forever continue patching, and so we need to really get a new airport happening. Unfortunately, it didn't materialize because of several reasons, and most of those reasons were because of available budget at the time. And so when this one came about, about a year and a half ago, almost 2 years ago, I started, of course, to mention it to some friends. Maybe my good buddy was one that I mentioned it to. But the highlight of that was so that most of them laughed and say, sure, yeah, right. You know the style, like how they say, yeah, sure, right. When I see that, I'll believe it, that kind of style. Yeah. And as you asked what I said by the toast, it reflected on me there and then that actually I could feel and I understood where it was coming from. Okay. Because for more than 20-something years, you've been hearing that a new airport is coming, a new airport, a terminal building is coming, a terminal building is coming. So at a certain moment, you don't believe it anymore. And the sentiments came over that, yeah, when I see it, I'll believe it. So at that moment, with the groundbreaking, which marked actually, let's call it the official start. It's more symbolic. Okay. Why I say that is because the contract was signed and the start date was actually a week or two before that groundbreaking ceremony. Okay. So but the ceremony marks actually symbolically for the island as, hey, this project is on the way. And that is what that toast was all about during that groundbreaking ceremony last week on the 15th.
Okay. More than 20 plus years that this has been in the works, in the making. As of the 15th, there was a groundbreaking ceremony, which you said pretty much 2 weeks before that, the project actually started. Yeah. Project of what? Is it? Are we getting a tower, or are we getting a new airport building?
Good way of putting the question. Okay. Because actually it comes down now to both. And why I say it comes down to both, because when this first started, when it was introduced and so by Rijkswaterstaat, they actually were only concentrating on a new tower, because as bad as the terminal building is, believe it or not, the tower is worse. And the air traffic control tower, there is where, the safety of all the aircraft, the handling of the aircraft approaching the island and stuff. So there's where that happens. So first of all, it's pretty outdated, and the situation up there is very bad. Okay. So with the Rijkswaterstaat, they are responsible then for upgrading the airport to make it safe for aircrafts, for their landing and for the passengers, not the building. Not the terminal building. Okay. You may have noticed quite some years ago, I don't recall the exact year, but first of all, the equipment on the airport field itself, like the meters for measuring wind speeds and those type of things, they were replaced. Then after that came the runway project, the resurfacing of the runway, because all of those maps.
About 2 years ago, I think.
A little over, it's more than 2 years, I think.
Yeah, 2 years already? Okay.
Yeah, time flying, my boy.
Wow.
But those are things that mark the safety of the airport. So together with the resurfacing of the runway and renewing the lights, the approach lights and all the warning lights and signs that were placed on the airport, also the fencing, a total new fence around the entire perimeter was done. Like I said, these are things that has to do with the safety of the airport. So then the next step would have been the tower, because the tower then will close off that, if you want to call it that, that part, that category of airport, the safety part. We were pleading all this time, and so okay, what about the terminal? Because you have a beautiful, smooth runway, you have new equipment, approach lights, and what have you. But the building still in shambles. It doesn't represent as a first impression to the island. And you know, you saw the comments on Facebook. People who live abroad came home after 20-something years, and then the first comment they're gonna you see on there is, "Wow, this building's still here." But to make a long story short, the terminal building wasn't part of the
initial planning.
Well, the planning, yes, and some of the responsibilities is the word I was looking for. Wasn't actually part of the responsibilities of that ministry. Okay. However, hurricanes good, hurricanes bad, but hurricanes we can be good. There was some damage. I'm going to carefully say not the amount of damage that we had hoped for. Why I'm saying that so careful? It sounds jokey, but these are the kind of talks and conversations that we have. The reason for that is, it would have given us a chance for a new building to be financed, because
immediately,
because there were funds made available and so for hurricane damages and stuff.
Yes.
Surprisingly, when we hear that St. Martin had a significant damage to their airport, we say, well, okay, then if St. Martin is so bad, then Statia has got to be worse. Surprisingly, when you go and you do your inspection the following day, our airport is standing strong.
Well, we don't build with crazy glue, you gotta remember that.
Anyway,
we built to last.
Yeah, so exactly, the building lasted, and it actually came in as a hub and helped St. Martin, and so when there was out, and so we know all the stories about that. Yeah. However, because there was some damage and so still, and looking more or less coming down the line where we said, hey, damage, would that mean significant repairs again? Putting a whole lot of money into repairs again for a building that is actually overdue. Indeed. The lifespan technically has already passed.
Patching up again.
Yes, the ministry really did their best. I have to applaud my colleagues there in the Den Haag. Did their best, and so to find a way to accumulate some funding, and so that it can take a new terminal building along with the building of the Afizo. The Afizo Tower, the air traffic control tower, should have started a year ago.
Okay.
But because the possibilities then presented themselves for them to also do a terminal building, they asked, hey, would it make sense to put on a tower now and then a year later come back and do construction, or would you guys consider holding off the construction of the tower, holding a minute, let us prepare the terminal building and then do one project. And we thought that was a better approach. So there we are, actually a year later since the proposal of the possibilities of the tower, and now of the terminal, and now both projects are taking place simultaneously. To answer your question, the project that is going on at the airport presently is the construction of the air traffic control tower. Okay. That is the first foundation, the first excavation that you see. And within a few weeks, they're going to start the excavation of the foundation for the terminal building.
Okay. Are we going to see the existing terminal building demolished? What's the plan there with that? Do you have any idea of that?
To be honest, the general wish is not for it to be demolished.
Okay.
And there are several reasons why. First of all, we need to continue our operation and the flights and so. Okay. So the existing building, and so that's going to remain in operation. Secondly, there are more needs for, let's say, space and activities at on the airport, on the airport terminal, than the present building can house, or let's say the present project, the new building to come can house.
Okay.
We hear cries and complaints and questions, but some of them are complaints also. Okay, so why don't you just build the new building bigger at one time and stuff like that? So I'm looking at the time because to go in detail where those are concerned, so it would take up some time. But real
Talk,
quick,
man.
okay, that's good.
Talk.
Real quick, one of the things, of course, is budget. Unfortunately, we cannot. Although station needs a lot of stuff,
Indeed.
a lot of development is needed. A lot of infrastructure is needed on the island. We cannot put everything that we need on paper and present it to the financiers and say, okay, this is what stations need. Match a budget to this for us, please.
Yeah.
Unfortunately,
It doesn't work like that.
No, it's the other way around.
Yeah.
They can provide a particular budget for us for this year and for that year.
Correct.
And we now, although we need this, we have to fit some of our needs and streamline it a little bit, or delay some and do this one this year to fit the budget that is given to us. So that's the first answer for not being able to build a terminal building as big as to house everything,
big as station
that you would need. Second thing is, is maintenance.
Yeah.
The bigger your building, the more cost it takes. You have to maintain it. And the building that is being constructed now is actually, I'm jumping a little ahead, is actually it's constructed with a calculation that airport engineers and professionals do. With the flow of the traffic, it can handle passengers, moving passengers. I think it's 150 passengers per hour. With the way the building is structured, with the equipment that's going to be in there, mainly security and customs and stuff like that, it can handle 150 passengers per hour. If that will interpret something like maybe 3 Winaires and 2 ATRs on the airport at the same time, moving passengers.
Okay, you answering my question. Go ahead.
You understand?
Yes.
So these are figures that the majority or the average person wouldn't think of, but we always say that you don't need a longer airstrip to get more passengers, number one. And the building, even though it's not super size, definitely is not as big as St. Martin. But just to put it a little bit in perspective, it's about 4.25 times the size of the building that we have now.
Okay.
These things doesn't really say much when you just call out figures. So on another occasion, if you will have me, it would be good that I can bring some drawings. Okay. And maybe even the digital graphs on the computer so that we can zoom into certain certain sections of the airport, and then the people or the viewers who are looking at us can walk through with us.
Get a better sense of what is being talked about
while I'm explaining and stuff like that.
Indeed.
But to come back to the size, the size that is being constructed now can handle passengers. And once again, the persons who are in charge of this, Rijkswaterstaat and the NAPO, they are the ones. They say they are building an airport based on your needs. Okay. All right, it's nice to want something and have it there, waiting, but it doesn't go that way. You build it on your needs. And then there's a second thing, it can handle 150 passengers per hour, which we don't have now. But say, for instance, marketing goes so good, and the STDF really get things rolling, and so and here you got a tourist coming in that you can't even handle them, right? The way that the building is being built, it's easy to expand without having to demolish or look for a new location and all of that.
Great. I'm glad you talk about building being built, because that was one of the questions I have for you. Okay. The structure of the building. Do you have I know you don't have the visual in front of you, but just give us an idea of what the building would or could look like at the end of the day. Like you said, you build it, because it's like me building a house right now. I don't have the finances to build a 3-bedroom house. So I'm going to build a 1-bedroom with the possibility of expanding. So I build a box, probably, a square. And the idea is to add a room on that side. So which means by the end of my construction, it looks like
what you had envisioned from the very
yes.
first.
So I'm looking at what you're saying about current finances. Yeah. And it's just like when you're building a house, as I said, you start off with what your pocket can afford. Maybe 2 years down the line, you say, hey, I want to add a room. But if you didn't make provision for that possibility to exist, then you cannot add that room,
Exactly.
no matter how much money you have.
Yeah.
So just give us an idea how more or less what we could be expecting for this current building that is coming.
Okay. First of all, let's position ourselves.
Yeah.
Let's talk location.
And the location. I was about to tell you that. Location is important.
man, I work with
you're
you,
working
man.
with me.
Yeah,
You're on
man.
point. You're on point.
The location. Everyone knows the airport and knows exactly how it
Correct.
is. So picture the tent that Winair uses now for the parking of the truck and the handling of the making up of the baggage.
Okay.
That tent there. Picture it technically from there up to and including what we refer to as the old fire station, which was the first fire station.
Okay. Back.
It's right there by the gate that the ambulance goes through.
Indeed.
That building, that tall building that you see stands there, that is what referred to as the old fire station.
Yes. Indeed.
So the structure that is going to be built, we're talking about the terminal.
Yes.
Is going to be built. It starts about 3 steps away from the tent,
Okay.
Winair's baggage tent,
Mm-hmm.
up to and including that tall building, the old fire station. So the fire, the ambulance, for instance, when it goes in and so for medical emergencies, it would be driving alongside the building going in that gate.
Okay.
So that first of all, that is the size.
That's the location
Yes.
as well. Because
Yeah.
that was in my head,
Yeah.
you know, because I remember, I see where the groundbreaking part is for the tower, and I was
Yeah.
wondering, okay, so where are they going to build this building now? Are they going to go left, right
Yeah.
of that tower?
Yeah.
So perfect. I'm glad
Yeah.
you said that. Okay.
So that is basically the location and orientation now.
Okay.
Right? The orientation of the building is pretty much, not pretty much, is exactly the same as we have now. You go in from the roadside, you check in, and let's say going board in the aircraft, departure hall will be exactly straight ahead of you on the other side. So the orientation of the building, that doesn't change.
Okay.
So that gives you
Yeah,
an idea.
It's still, yeah,
Yeah.
okay. It's still coming in. All right.
The interior of the building now, that is where the changes and so come. It would be a lot easier, like I said, if we would be able to see blueprints of that while we speak. But those of you who are listening to us maybe in your vehicle or in the car, or those of you on the airport, you can take a quick run just around the corner in the present building itself. There is a maquette, as they call it, and so.
Yeah, like a mock-up of it. Like
Exactly. A miniature structure
Yes.
of the terminal building that is to come.
Yeah.
And there you can see this, pretty much the interior, how the interior and so is set up.
Yeah.
Highlights are there's space for 3 travel agencies, for 3 trekking counters.
Okay. Great.
Once again, the way it is built, if there's a fourth, because let's say within the next 15 years, then it can easily be added on and stuff to the
Fantastic.
building without any major demolition or anything, and so that has to do with
Okay.
expansion of the building can be done easily because it's a modular construction. It is built in, we call it in Dutch stramina. It's straight lines, so you
Okay.
can add another section.
Like kiosk.
You can,
if you
yeah,
want
you
to
can
call it
add
that.
another section to
Okay.
that, depending on your demands, of course.
Okay.
What is good? There are various toilets inside for, let's say, from the departure side. Let's say from the land side. That's what we speak: land side and air side.
Okay.
Yeah, on the land side, and so there are toilets which we do have now with the present building.
Well, you need them.
Yeah. But what I wanted to add to that there now, once you go in and you're sitting in the departure hall, you know officially and because of security reasons, you may not just return out and
Indeed.
stuff like that. So in there also, that is something new that we don't have now.
Indeed,
You have
indeed.
toilet and washroom facilities in there while you're seated.
Great.
Stuff.
Great.
That's a highlight.
I know there was when I attended some of the meetings, because there were several meetings on the structure where persons were able to voice opinion and ask questions and give ideas and things like that. One of the main questions at one of the meeting was about areas for, for example, like we have a bar, restaurants, little shops, shoppes, if you want to call them that. Were those also considered in the new structure, in this current structure? Because I remembered during the initial meeting, that was not part of it. And based on the suggestions, I would have figured that, people went back to the drawing board. I don't know if that was part of the initial
I-
correction of it.
the key word here is initial.
Okay.
Yes, initially all of those things were taking
Okay.
the comments, the wishes of, because there was some town hall meetings,
Yes,
and pointers
yes.
was taken,
Yeah, I remember that.
and those wishes and some of them are definitely needs,
Mhm.
and so were all on a list and taken.
Okay.
But when you start to put them now to design the building, that is where now you notice the size of the building in order to house all of these things, because there's also regulations of how much space you need for each room or each section that you need. You can't just have it and so, like I say, a 2x4 just to say I have it. There's guided measurements and distances and sizes and so that you need to go with that. When you put all that were wished in there, the size of the building now comes out, and you know construction cost goes by the size of the building.
Indeed.
Whether you want to calculate it per square foot, we usually calculate per square meter.
Yeah.
So each square meter has a construction cost to it, which then when you put all the amount of square meters together, it throws it way out of the available budget.
Okay.
So some things had to be taken out. However, brings us back to one of your very first questions there. You asked about the existing building. When this new building is finished, what's going to happen with the existing building? I started to say that it comes down to that the existing building wouldn't be demolished. It's going to be, how to say, remodeled to house some of the things that some of the wishes that were needed or were asked for to be taken along with this new building. It's going to be remodeled in such a way that they can easily fit or be housed in the old terminal building.
Okay.
And if those of you who are familiar with Curacao, you can picture it a little bit like how Curacao is now. There was this new building built next to the old one, and after a certain amount of years, some people didn't even notice it, but they incorporated now
They merged them together. Yeah,
the new building right down into the old one,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
you can, and they have a whole lot of activities happening in the old one. The scale is a lot smaller, of course, but
Yeah.
you can picture something like that is the idea.
Okay.
That is how that was going to be. So different, whatever shops you're going to have, there's also a need, for instance, for a decent conference room at the airport.
Indeed.
Sometimes a corporate jet lands at the airport and needs to take off in the next hour. And by the time you shuttle them and you get them over to the guest house for a meeting, and then you have to be checking your time to get them back to the airport. Things like that, just to mention a real quick.
No, that's good. That's good. I'm glad to hear that there's still future planning and ideas, because one of the things you mentioned, I think, is important for persons to be aware of is finances. Finances, people say money in everything, but money makes a lot of difference. And if you don't have the money to do the things you want to do, usually it stays, and that goes to show with the buildings that we are talking about right now. Folks, again, here you have it today. We are talking with Mr. Malvin Timber of the Planning Bureau, and we are talking about different projects that is on the island that is ongoing. The one that we are currently referring to is the new project that you see taking place over there at the airport, which is now we talk about the tower and the new building that is it's going to be in construction again within a week or two, if I'm not mistaken. But at the end of the day, folks, we are looking forward to having these new structures placed on the island. Is there a time frame for these buildings to be completed? Is there a specific time frame? And of course, I know time frames are set, but sometimes, especially here in Statia, where material is not the easiest thing to get to when you really need it, at times things run out, or you have issues where Mother Nature plays her role, and then you have to. So, but is there a time frame set that we could say be looking forward to that specific time frame?
Yes, the contractor has presented a planning, a schedule, which was a must. That's part of the requirement of this contract, and also he takes in consideration also things that you may not think of, and emergencies or shortcomings, bad weather. No deliveries to the island because of whatever in case. Taking all of those in consideration, his planning comes out that the building should be officially taken into use. Actually, maybe the first passenger going through the scanners and what have you and stuff on the 27th of November 2020.
Okay.
However, because of what November 16th means to us on Statia, It is also in the planning and schedule, and it seems very feasible that the cutting of the ribbon can happen on the 16th of November.
I'm glad I asked the question because
So on the 16th of November,
Nice.
almost, let's call it
A year from now.
A year from now, then the official opening ceremony of
Okay.
that new terminal and tower. No, the tower going to be finished before the terminal building, of course.
Okay.
But then the total handing over of the project is scheduled for the 27th of November.
Okay.
However, the walking through of the building, taken into use of the terminal building, may be able to happen on the 16th of November.
And that would be very very important, I think, to the island of Stage, especially on that particular date and that particular day. So I definitely am one looking forward to that date and that day to be the actual day of, as you said, cutting off the ribbon and having the first passengers come through that belt as you mentioned. So perfect. Is there any changes that's going to take place to the tarmac, to the stretches? I want you to. I remember a few years ago, you and I had a conversation about when people refer to the lengthening or the shortening of the runway, and you gave me a great explanation of what this actually meant or what this actually is. And I think a lot of people out there still does not understand that. And I basically, as I said, based from your explanation, I was like, okay, cool, okay, now I understand. Is there anything going to happen? And would you care to probably go back to that part of our conversation and explain what that meant, first of all? And is there any changes? Because one of the things you mentioned is airlift. And you said also that STDF gets things moving. I like that. I like that a lot. STDF get things moving. Definitely, guys, we are going to get things moving. Let me put it that way.
Yeah.
But again, the airlift is very important to the island.
Yeah.
And if you look around you, you see a lot of developments. Right now, there are a project taking place out behind where we're going to have about 52 luxury suites, and there's going to be another 25 to 30 rooms coming up. I mean, so projects are taking place that is in that area of increasing our tourism visitors, our tourists coming to the island. Airlift is of great importance. Now, you mentioned the airport itself will be able to host at least 150 passengers per hour, which would be means 2 Winair aircraft plus
Let's use
a larger aircraft.
ATR,
Yes. What would happen then to the runway? Is the runway in condition for the larger aircraft? Because we need to make sure of that is possible in case your airlift and increase in airlift is there. Could you give us something on that, please, if possible?
It's possible, and I'm going to make it simple with a simple example.
Okay.
Quite some years ago, we ran a study, because if you recall me saying, so there were people saying, we need longer runway. Some people even wish to see KLM coming straight from Holland to here.
Indeed.
For instance, right? We had to do a study in order to present some cases and so where things are concerned. It turned out we used Simbats as an example. Why Simbats? Because Simbats we consider to be a very profitable, a blooming island where tourists is concerned. The visitors that go there and so on a daily basis, I don't know the figures by heart, but it's at least 10 times more than Statia.
More than a lot of the Caribbean islands.
Yeah, you would know the figures even
Indeed.
better. But that's not so important. What is important is how do the passengers get there?
Yeah.
And so we use that example to show that, hey, with a little runway that Sinbad's have, and the airlines that go there, the biggest aircraft that goes there is our Popular and Winair, right? So we said, look, let's use Sinbad's as an example. They have, in a sense, all the passengers or the amount of passengers that they could want, that they need. And they are getting those passengers with a runway that is in less length than ours, with the aircrafts of Winair. So we say, well, hey, technically you don't need a bigger aircraft to get that kind of movement. All you need is probably more airlift and things.
Indeed.
However, we are fortunate enough to have the length of a runway that can take a bigger aircraft than Win Air. So that's why we keep mentioning ATRs and so. Of course, you will want to say, well, hey, just a few days ago, and so recognition was given to Miss Nora Snake. I was there, have the privilege to be there to wish her happy birthday on her birthday night. But since I'm here, and so Nora, if you're listening, happy belated again, as you know.
Yeah, same here, Nora. Same here. We gotta talk though, but same here.
Yeah, the reason why I bring that up and so because it was just mentioned and so that she was the first and probably the only one and so to have, I think back then it was ALM if I'm not mistaken,
yes.
and I think
straight from Curacao to
the Super 80 or something.
Yeah.
The size of the aircraft and so straight from Curacao to here.
Correct.
That happened and stuff. What we're trying to say is the runway can take a bigger aircraft.
Indeed.
And so that's why I refer to ATRs, because then, of course, if you can move more than the 16 passengers at one time that Win Air can do, that is what travel agents look for. Right?
Yes.
Sometimes you book a package of 30 passengers, and you would like to move those in one shot, one aircraft and stuff like that.
Indeed.
So the runway, as it is now, it's equipped and able to take.
When you say ATR, what in numbers for that aircraft? We're talking about 32 passengers, 50 passengers type aircraft.
The amount of passengers, I think, what is 32 or what? Let's say the Caribbean Sun Airlines. Those
I think they were doing 32, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
I think the ones from Insulair were doing about 50 to 52 passengers, something like that. So I think it's okay around that area. Okay.
So if you would ask me, and if you would do some research and really check it out, you would realize that hey, aircrafts like these are can bring more the passengers that you would need. You don't
directly.
You wouldn't need bigger aircrafts. Yeah. In this way, you wouldn't need a longer runway. And just to give you a quick thing, the longer the runway, the more width you need on the airport premises.
Okay.
That means if the airport runway should go longer than it is presently now, the fence as we know it in front of the airport will have to be moved back all the way, take up the road and move to ARC agencies.
Oh, really?
There would have to become the airport premises, for instance, just to give you an idea.
Okay.
Because it goes with safety
Wingspan.
and approach and RISA and airport safety areas and stuff like that. So the longer the runway means a bigger aircraft can come, and the more space you need in case something happens. If the airplane should maneuver wrongly or the wind push it a certain way, you need more width.
Okay.
So and then of course to handle that you need now a more equipped air traffic control tower also. Just to say real quick that the longer the runway, it brings a tremendous
more responsibilities.
Yeah, and airport equipment isn't like going by maybe Mr. Rivers and buying a Samsung TV. And so you know what I mean? The monitors for those kind of things, and so you reach easily millions, which you cannot invest.
But it's necessary. Those things are necessary in order for safety and security.
Definitely, but for what you need.
Yes,
now you would say, let's do a longer runway, and but it will also will then be necessary to have the higher equipment for such a longer runway while you don't even have the traffic and counting the heads and passengers that, for instance, goes to Simbaj, you don't even need that kind of aircraft.
Okay.
So that brings back that story and explanation.
It brings us back down to marketing, promotion of the island, and
so
STDF doing
the runway and the tarmac as it is for aircrafts coming in will remain the same.
Yeah.
However, there's some marketing going on to have additional business going on at the airport, and they're now, unfortunately, not within this project, but it's being looked into and getting real quick about expanding the tarmac, so the parking area in front of the airport.
Yes,
but for the tower that is for the airport terminal that is going down now, the present tarmac is sufficient to get the passengers to the aircraft.
Okay. All right, folks. Again, we are talking about the airport and the project that is ongoing at the airport. And, of course, we have in our studio with us, again, Mr. Malvin Timber of the Planning Bureau, who is also part of, this project that is ongoing, as I said. And on the 15th, I was privileged to witness the groundbreaking ceremony where Mr. Timber himself gave the toast to this symbolic, as you would call it, groundbreaking ceremony. Mr. Timber, on a scale of 1 to 10, what would you say this would be for Statia? What would it mean for the island of Statia, this new development? On a scale of 1 to 10, would it, 1 being, of course, the worst thing could ever happen, and 10 being the best thing that could ever happen within the space of that 20 years that you mentioned?
I give it very close to a 10.
Very close to a 10.
Yeah, for a lot of reasons, and let's start with the simplest. Like I said, a few months or maybe a year ago, and so I was unfortunate enough to read some unpleasant remarks, but not wrong, true remarks, but they are unpleasant to hear when you're from here.
Yes,
the downgrading of how it is, and and stuff like that. We like to say things don't happen before the time. Sometimes the time takes too long, but so it will first of all give a better impression, as they say, the first impression. When you come to the island, the promotion is going on there. We are the historical gem of the island, peaceful tranquility. Statia's beautiful. I love Statia dearly, and all those and so. But sometimes when you see something, the first impression gives something, and then when you go into the island and you say, oh, but So first of all, the looks of the building is a tremendous upgrade. Tremendous improvement. Okay. That's number one. Number two is that it offers a whole lot of opportunities, and so to different things. We've been having talks with retail for the services that they're going to deliver there. They have this fiber optic possibilities and so on the island. Expansions. There's a whole lot that this new terminal, this project in general, and so means for the island.
Okay.
Yes, I can easily
improvement. That's basically what you're saying.
I can easily give it up close to a 10.
So basically, if I was to look at it and just listening to what you're saying, do you believe that? And this is more of a personal feeling than a professional feeling, huh? But do you believe that with this development, it could boost or spruce other development to the island? I mean, having such a development and taking place within such a short span of time of 1 year, of course, people may say, "Oh, 1 year is a long time," but it's for me, it's a short span because you're not building, a one-bedroom home. You're building something that need to last and be able to withstand hurricane or bad weather or Mother Nature. Let's put it that way. So, do you think that this could be
definitely, and you're 100% correct. Let me go back to that first. So it is relatively short for the construction of what needs to be done there. It's a relatively simple building, but all that has to go on in there, and how you say the inrichting, the wiring and the furnishing of it, and so that takes really some time, and so to get it right. But a year is pretty short actually.
Yes.
But it's really good time, and so for the contractor to be able to realize such a project in there. And then yes, coming to a relatively modern building gives you a better feeling as an entrepreneur or a business person and stuff. I just feel so
there's growth possibilities in many ways.
Yeah, I just feel so excited about this whole new airport thing. Like I said, just looking at it alone, and so
you can see spin-off coming around the corner from something like this. I would take it because, and the reason why I asked that question is because if you look at, I just saw the news there, and an island like Jamaica, for example, that has one of the best airport in the region. You just see, I just saw the news, and they are about to invest $39 million in their airport. Now, there's a reason for all this. Again, there is spin-off, there's things happening there. Dominica have just created one of the best airport, again, in the region for themselves. So these are things that you see happening. St. Kitts is about to go into the same type of project. of increasing their with, of course, with couple $1 million again. And I believe that this is the reason why these islands are doing these things again is because of the spin-off that comes along
so, yeah.
with, and so that's why I asked that particular question to see if there was any thought given of that, and obviously there was.
Yes, definitely.
Okay,
definitely.
that's great. That's great. One question I have real quick is there any changes to the parking situation that's going to be on the airport? Is that currently at the airport with this new development?
So glad you asked that.
I'm glad you're glad.
Yeah,
I'm glad you're glad.
Thank you for making me glad, man. Because this is the part that's going to affect the general public or the population the most. During construction, you will see it happening, yes, but it doesn't affect anything else. But this is the part. In order, how should I put this first? Around the airport, or airport works and movements, and so that is very, very ticklish, and it's very dangerous. You have to be very secure and particular. So the contractor, he needs to make sure that there's the right fencing and around his work, that the simplest of something doesn't get away and go to an aircraft or what have you. I say that to say that the contractor has to put a fence, put a perimeter around his construction work.
Okay.
Unfortunately, there's not enough space on the airport premises itself to do all that.
Yeah.
He have to have containers, he have to have a working space for building, and you have to have offices there, you have to have a storage for several things. Therefore, you would presently see a fence has been placed where the air traffic control tower is going to be built. When we were there, you noticed it was fenced off, so you can go in on the airport premises, but then you cannot go further because the fence is already in there.
Okay.
As of day before yesterday, I believe it was, one was placed where the terminal building is going to come also. But like I said, on the premises itself isn't enough. So his yard and his fence has to come outside, which will take up and include, let me see if I can put it in perspective in words. We all know where, Stucco Transformer House is there next to the airport fence.
Yeah, I know.
Just after you pass the Carnival Village coming around that corner.
Correct. That opened, that big.
A makeshift parking was made there. It's fenced off and everything.
Yes,
So starting from there, the contractor needs that space. It was approved also by government, by everyone. Needs that space. It's going to come out in the road. It's going to take in now the parking that is directly in front of that same area. So
the fire department, the old fire department to the building.
The parking that is in front of the ARC building,
correct.
basically there,
Correct.
and the dirt section alongside the airport fence.
Okay.
Right? There is where the contractor's fence and yard will come, which means now that parking area, it will be definitely off limits for approximately a year. Okay, so that will be a major change, which means you cannot drive into to the front of the airport using that part. What's going to happen is, everyone knows those big concrete blocks. They were made for we call them concrete flower pots or what. I think they were to put plants in those big red and white things that actually block the road in front of the airport. Those will temporarily be removed, and the flow to the airport will be through there. Technically, that is how the first flow to the airport was in the beginning. Yes. Okay. So then, to get in front of the airport building, it would be there.
So you come down the road by ARC and you have to turn immediately.
You come down the road by
straight. Yeah. So it's one straight.
Yeah, you will have
that'll open in.
Exactly. You go in there, but mind you, it's one way. You cannot come out there.
Oh,
so
it
becomes like a kiss and ride idea.
Correct.
You drive in there. You
go down.
You come in front of. You will then stop in front of the building to let off who or what you have to let off, and you continue driving, and you come out pretty much the way you leave the airport.
So then security become a little stricter too for parking and stopping. And
exactly.
People who go into the ATM and those kind of things, you have to be, you can't park here.
That is
It's similar to what we are used to in the
we're going to use
international
this
world.
medium now to its announcements. Further
Yes.
announcements is going to be made, and more direct contact is going to be made.
Okay.
But this is the first opportunity that we get to
Yes.
to address the public that yes, just exactly what you say. We're going to have to compromise somewhat, and these are the inconveniences that comes with improvement and,
Indeed.
and development. The stopping as we know it now and parking for long periods of time to go to the ATM and stuff like that. So we're going to have to do without that for about a year
Okay.
because the parking, like I say, up on the upper side, going to be taken up by the yard of the contractor. Provisions are being made and so for alternative parking anyway, and the big parking area as we know it in front of the Carnival Village, as we call it, officially
Yeah,
the
yeah.
Lions Den, and so that big parking area there is alternative parking for the airport personnel as well as
Travelers.
Yes. The idea is, of course, people say, oh, that's a distance.
Really?
Yeah, we get at
Oh,
this
wow.
already. But what happens is we observe it for some weeks, and so now you realize that, hey, you don't go and park your car somewhere and then the whole family come walking from the car with the suitcases and
Indeed.
stuff. The regular drop off in front of the airport, put out the bags, and then the one person drive away to go and park will go park the car and they rush back. Sometimes they're late for the flight, so you'll see them running. But on a regular, they will walk back to the airport, and basically that is how we have it set up.
But as I said, we're going to get into this international realm of things right now, and there's good practice for us because when the flights airlift starts to increase, and you realize that different aircrafts are coming in here, and our check-in is an hour check-in in advance, and these kind of things, and you start having all these different multitude of persons going back and forth through the airport. There is no longer being able, like you said, you're late for the flight and you're rushing coming. You got 5 minutes and you say, oh, the flight ain't called yet. No, there's no longer that. So this is good practice. This is real good practice for us to start working on these kind of things. And as you mentioned, parking across there is far because we are used to parking right in front.
Yeah.
But if you look at what we do when we go abroad, we park pretty much in all kind of upstairs and across the road, and you got to take maybe a little tramp to get across and all. So these are things that we are used to and we know of. But when we come home, we feel like we should not. So it's good practice.
Yeah,
it's real good practice.
Definitely.
But for future as well, is there going to maybe any changes to the parking situation as we know it now?
In this project, no.
Okay.
But yes, of course, the big picture. There's the big picture is being looked at. Yes.
Okay.
The parking situations is so definitely going to change.
Okay.
What you get a lot is because it's so free and easy. People park their vehicles there and they go away for a week.
Indeed.
The vehicle is there and stuff. All of that is going to change.
Okay.
Some paid parking is going to be introduced.
Okay.
Because-
I think that's good too,
Yeah.
because that goes into the coffers of
Definitely.
and if we want to see improvement or we want to see continuous maintenance, because preventative maintenance is what keeps the buildings
Things
going. I
buildings
think a lot
standard,
of the buildings that we see on the island, preventative maintenance was not part of the repertoire, if you want to call
See,
it that.
because of lack of budget for different things.
Indeed.
And so you
Indeed.
sacrifice preventative.
Yes.
You sacrifice that preventative
Maintenance,
maintenance.
yeah.
People say, you know what? We don't need to paint the building and so
Yes.
and stuff. So you put that money to something else and stuff.
Yes.
Those are things that we want to be things of the past, and we're working towards of doing the necessities when they are needed.
That's
at
good.
the time when they are needed.
Okay, because it keeps things going, it keeps things looking good. Folks, I think we are coming down to the wire of this program. I see DJP looking at me. But at the end of the day, again, you're here, you're listening to us. We have so much that we can talk about and so much different things that we can mention on this. I wish we had 2 hours.
I thought we did when you tell me just stop.
DJP, we have any time? We have time, DJP.
When I say, you say let's go ahead. So I say I put my
But
watch aside.
Again, I believe we have. I just want to ask real quick, because I think that's the hot potato on right out there as well. Other projects that is taking place. You see the road projects that are there on in the pipeline. Some of them already started.
Yeah.
The James project, for example. Can you give us a quick? I don't know if that's part of your department as well, but anything on the road projects and what can we look at? Because these are all things that are infrastructural and improvements. And one of the things that we, again, from the tourism perspective, what we look for is these type of things to be able to sell. The airport improvement is a big seller for us. I mean, you know, when you said STF do their thing, that's a big seller. So with that alone, we can already start looking forward to, you know, bringing interested bodies to the island. That's one. Two, now you have better roads, road improvements. I'm even seeing where additional roads are coming, and that's why I mentioned the James project.
Yeah.
Can you give us a quick, DJP, we have a little 2 minutes to get this up?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Okay, yeah.
That's good.
Quick wrap up in 2 minutes. And so the James project, that's one of the worst of our bad roads. Our terrible roads is one of the worst in James. And yeah, focus is being put to that, and so, but it's also a very narrow road with heavy concentration of traffic.
Indeed.
So in order to alleviate some of that and get a better flow, an alternative or extra bypass road was created, and it was presented more than once, and so everyone knows where.
Just in case people don't know, let's just tell them where the second road is, and the bypass road as you mentioned.
If let's say you're coming from the bay using the Sandy Road, so you're driving east on the Sandy Road from the schools or from the sports field going towards Golden Rock. You're gonna, at a certain moment, you're gonna come to the intersection, which is then
they call it
James Road,
yeah,
Sandy Road.
Bunk.
Yeah, exactly. Well, approximately, what is it, about 50 meters before you get to MLN Bunk,
as they call it.
that corner,
Yeah.
right? There will be a road on the left side going into the field. Most people know that as terminal ground.
Yes.
It's just below some apartments that are there. So about 50 meters before you get to Emmeline's corner, on your left side, a road will be created there that will carry you all the way over to, let's say, terminal gate, the gate that goes into terminal yard there in Scotson Hook.
Yeah.
Okay?
And the farm. For those of you who don't know, who remember that area, it's called the farm. That's behind James, the existing James Road, behind Dada. For those of you who from James, who live down that side, who hang around. Yeah, man, I'm a James boy, man.
I realize so, yeah.
That was, for those of you who remember the road that was back there, that little dot road is going to become a road now.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's, it was an existing, as you say, a track. I think it was a goat track there. That was there, and then it became where people would traffic in the back there.
Yeah, since people built houses and so there, you would realize, because you saw some car tracks, and so you would realize that they would use there to get to the back of the yard. And so, but all of that was unofficial.
Correct.
So this road now has been projected, and it will be paved and become part of the James Road. So I don't remember exactly which one will be which direction, but the James Road,
one in, one out, either which way.
The James Road as we know it now will become one way, but the new road, and so it's wide enough, that will remain two way.
Oh, the new road will be a two-way road.
Yeah,
okay. So it will. So then they're going to make a pretty wide road there.
Yeah, it's to the standard.
And is this already? The contractors are in place. The project already started, or is there a date to start?
Yeah, the contractors in place. I don't remember when the contract was signed and so, but earlier this year, it's all on the go. Preparations has been made. The contractor has bought a whole bunch of materials and so already.
All right.
Some physical work has started there in place, but there are some paperwork and so some technical stuff and so that still needs to play. So that's why you're not seeing excavators digging, you're not seeing trucks in there and so as yet and so. But that project has started.
That's one that's going to be we're going to see starting pretty soon.
Yeah, the Cherry Tree Roads, that's another big road project, and so unfortunately there are some little delays that are still ongoing and so, and they are working hard. I got to the office this morning and my office is empty. That doesn't mean that nobody working today. It means that they're
on the road.
They're out in
the field.
They're meeting with these people and so to get this thing happening and so, because it really has to happen now.
Okay.
And simultaneously one is catching up into the other. The Bay Road as we know it. And so that is also high priority on government's list.
Okay.
The corner, Kingswell corner in particular. And so that's almost done in the sense of preparation.
Okay.
So it's being prepared as we speak and so on. It's almost in the final stages. And so pretty soon, early next year, and so we're going to have
something
happening with that corner first.
Okay.
And also then the number one high priority, but that takes some time because of all the aspect that goes along with it, is this major road that we know, we call it the road from from the hospital all the way over, all the way over to Lynch, past the school, Governor de Graaf School, and so forth, right?
Okay.
That road is also under preparation, and so it's nearing the final stages. There are some little, I wouldn't call them stumbling blocks, but hiccups, some things needs to address. You need to acquire land, because we're not just going to pave and make the new road. As bad as it is, you're not just going to resurface the road. It's going to be widened at the same time, and so land needs to be acquired on either
on both sides.
On both sides, whichever side is the most convenient and the better and stuff like that. So, but almost for the whole stretch of the road, land needs to be acquired and stuff. So those things are going on.
Okay.
Unfortunately, you don't see the tangible aspect of these whole projects there and then, right? But if someone would just ask some questions to the office, and vice versa, some more information will be given from, let's say, from government side on how the process is going, you will realize that a whole lot of work is already being taken place where these are concerned. And pretty soon the tendering going to happen, and then the tangible part is will be seen by everybody's eye.
This is fantastic. As I said, we have so much information that we have to cover in this program today. DJP ain't giving us enough time to make sure that we give the people the information. I think we have to get a second program and come back with you so we can continue discussing these and giving this information out to the folks that is out there that's interested. I have so many questions that I need to ask and that I can ask, but again, time is of the essence with us. Yeah. However, again, I want to go back to the farm real quick, because I was told that, I heard then, let me just put it this way, you know, the grapevine, that a road will be constructed from point A, which is the top of Dream Road, the existing James Road, straight down to the burial ground. Is this a fact, or am I hearing, was that just a rumor, the ghost them talking in my sleep?
Well, first of all, since you've gone back there, let me get something off my chest here. In the office, we have a little thing that, my colleagues will laugh, and so listen, technically, officially, that's not the farm. So, and they talk about this farm road, and I don't like to hear it. But anyway, that's
what I raised on, brother.
That's a little thing.
I like tradition.
That area is officially Scots on Hook.
Okay, Scots on Hook.
The farmer had a little farm there, and so the reason why I say that, we said in a joke and stuff, but there's an official place up Rosemary Lane, just roughly on the opposite side of you. That is officially on the map, the farm.
Well, no, listen, keep me on things.
All right.
Everybody got
it. But to come back to that real quick, yes, government also is busy putting the necessaries in place. The domain office is in swing, hard at work, and so.
DJP, you sure you want me to go down this program, DJP? This information coming up, boy.
Hard at work, making things possible, acquiring the necessary land, and so because yes, that road will be its intention, and I think it's almost final to be acquired by government, and so because it's a very vital, important road, mainly for heavy equipment and what have you and stuff. And so,
great.
That is another thing that is in the make.
Mr. Timber, I want to thank you so much for your time being here with us and giving us all this wonderful information and necessary information. Do you have any last thing you would like to share with the listening audience, and before I close the program?
Well,
today,
like I said before, so we're gonna need some time, and I'm sure I'm gonna have the blessing, and so from my leidinggevende, from my superiors, and also from the government, and so to share as much information as I am allowed to. So on medias and so like this. So I thank you very much for this opportunity. Once again, the one that is presently at hand and that we are working on, that has the effect on most of the people, is the airport, the new airport project. And so once again, we are soliciting the cooperation and the understanding from persons, and so that the inconvenience is going to be there. Parking as we know it, and the getting to the airport as we know it, and so will be disturbed for a while. That while is roughly a year, but we are doing all that we can to facilitate you in another way. Once again, alternative parking will be that parking lot in front of the Carnival Village, in front of the Lions Den, for those who wish to refer to as that. And yes, that is how we will be going forward for the year, for the coming months, for a year to come.
Great, fantastic. Folks, again, we are in the studio today with Mr. Malvin Timber of the Planning Bureau, and as you heard it here, some of the projects that is ongoing on the island, and some of them that are there to come. I look forward to hopefully having Mr. Timber on another program where we can definitely have more information brought to you, the listening audience out there. Before I close, don't forget Taste of the Culture is on October 31st, right there at what we call the Lion's Den, the Carnival Village. And again, it's your fun time from 6 to 9, so come out and celebrate and enjoy with us. Don't forget Station Day week of activities starts on the 9th to the 11th with the Booth Holders Night, where you will have DJs on the stage playing their music, and you as the participants or the persons attending can familiarize yourself with the booths and the booth holders and the different persons that's going to be there for those evening. On the 12th is the official opening. That's the gospel night. On the 13th, it's youth night. On the 14th, they have culture night. On the 15th, international night. And on the 16th, Banorama, featuring someone that has station roots but an international level. At the end of the day, folks, again, this program will be sent out within shorts, so each and every one of you can share it. Please, please, once you get it, share it among your crew and your crowd, and let people know that we wish for them to join us during the Station Day week of activities. This is your program, FYI, brought to you by the Synesthesia Tourism Development Foundation. I'm your host, Charles Lindo. Godspeed.